that every action brings consequences not only in the outer world but within our own mind. True happiness does not come from the outside world. It comes from inner peace, that it is never too late to change, that within the darkest night, the dawn of wisdom is waiting. I am Rajeswari. I am from Pondicherry. So today I have chosen the book The Life of Milarepa, written by Lobzang Jivaka. I wanted to share with you all this remarkable story of Milarepa because every spiritual seeker should know his story. The life of Milarepa is not just a biography. It is a journey of transformation. Imagine a man who once mastered dark magic to destroy his enemies and then, through the power of realization, become one of the greatest saints in Tibetan history. A man who began his life in revenge and ended it in enlightenment. That too in a single lifetime. Is it possible, friends? Can one lifetime wash away even the darkest karma? Yes, that is life of Milarepa. So before diving into the story of Milarepa, let us learn some information about the author Lobzang Jivaka. His original name was Michael Dillon. He was a British physician, author, and Buddhist monk. He is known for being the world's first person to undergo female to male gender transition surgery. Inspired by reading the works of George Gurdjieff, Peter Ouspensky, and Tuesday Lobsang Rampa, he moved to India to devote his life to Buddhism. Later, he changed his name to Lobzang Jivaka, named after Buddha's own doctor. So between the years 1960 and 62, he wrote 4 books on Buddhism. One among them was The Life of Milarepa. Actually, the original Tibetan version of The Life of Milarepa was written by Sangyun Heruka, who lived in the 15th century. But Lobzang Jivaka's version of Milarepa made his story accessible to Western readers, helping them understand the Tibetan spirituality in a universal way. Jivaka's version helps us see Milarepa not as a distant saint, but as a real person, someone who made terrible mistakes, suffered deeply, and yet, through courage and devotion, found complete transformation. So, as we step into the story of Milarepa, let us open our minds and hearts to a tale that challenges everything we believe about guilt, forgiveness, and the power of the human spirit. Okay, so now let's start the story of Milarepa. Milarepa was born in 1052, that is in the 11th century, in a small village in western Tibet. He came from a comfortable family. His father was wealthy and respected, and his childhood at first was happy. But everything changed when his father fell gravely ill. Before dying, his father left a will asking his brother and sister-in-law, that is, Milarepa's uncle and aunt, to take care of his wife and children and to manage the family's property until Milarepa became an adult. However, once the father died, the uncle and aunt betrayed that trust. They took all the property for themselves and treated Milarepa's family as servant in their own house. They were very cruel. They mocked the boy, humiliated his mother, and made them live in poverty. Imagine, friends, being a child, watching your mother crying every day, feeling powerless. How would have Milarepa felt? His mother was bitter about the loss and the injustice which weighed heavily on Milarepa. He grew up under the cloud of suffering and injustice. Milarepa's mother urged him to seek revenge on the uncle and aunt for what they had done. She sent him to learn black magic, telling him to come back and destroy those who had wronged them. So, this was the seed of tragedy in Milarepa's life and also strangely the beginning of his spiritual path. Milarepa was intelligent and determined. He quickly learned powerful forms of sorcery and black magic. At first, he used them just to frighten his enemies, but soon anger consumed him. On the day of his uncle's son's wedding, where many relatives and friends gathered, Milarepa used his black magic skills to summon a great hailstorm. The storm collapsed the roof of their house, killing many people inside. Not only his friends, not only his enemies, but also many innocent guests. Nearly 35 people were killed, and also the crops that are ready to be harvested are also destroyed. When the storm passed, the village was full of grief and sorrow. Milarepa saw the destruction and realized the horror of what he had done. He had avenged his family, yes, but his heart was full of guilt and fear. He began to feel the weight of karma, the truth that every action brings consequences not only in the outer world but within our own mind. He couldn't sleep, he couldn't find peace. Revenge had given him no satisfaction, only deep pain. That was the moment Milarepa began to seek something more. He said to himself, if my mind can create such harm, maybe it can also create good. I must find a teacher who can show me the way to freedom. And so the young sorcerer turned from destruction toward the path of transformation. Milarepa then set out in search of a spiritual master. He heard of Marpa, the translator, who is a great Buddhist teacher who had studied and brought back many sacred teachings from India. He translated many Indian scriptures, and that is why he is famously known as Marpa the translator. So Milarepa traveled across mountains to find him, feeling exhausted, hungry, and full of remorse. When he finally met Marpa, the teacher saw immediately both Milarepa's potential and his heavy karma. Instead of giving him teachings right away, Marpa tested him, not through lectures, but through hard physical work and humiliation. Marpa made Milarepa build a tower of stones with his bare hands as a single person under the burning sun and the cold wind. When Milarepa finished building the tower, Marpa would find some mistake in it and order him to tear it down and build it again. each time on a different spot. Like this, Marpa made him build the tower 4 times. He gave him no food, no rest, no words of comfort, only work, work, work. Imagine the pain underwent by Milarepa, friends. It was really unbearable and undescribable. Many years have passed like this. Milarepa's body became covered with sores and wounds. His hands bled, his back ached, and his spirit broke into tears. Yet he obeyed, never losing faith in his master. This intense pain was not punishment, it was a sacred purification, a way to burn away the heavy karma he carried. Each stone he lifted was like a weight of sin released. Each wound was a mark of surrender. Through that suffering, Milarepa's pride dissolved, his past was purified, and his devotion became absolute. When he could bear no more and still remained faithful, Marpa revealed the truth that these trials were acts of compassionate purification, meant to prepare him for the great teachings of enlightenment. So, through pain, Milarepa learned endurance. Through endurance, he found humility, and through humility, he discovered liberation. Then Marpa gave him initiation and full teachings of meditation and the nature of mind. He told him, now go to the mountains, practice without distraction. When you see the truth directly, you will be free. Milarepa obeyed. So before going to the mountains, Milarepa wished to see his mother. So he returned to his village. When he returned home, he discovered that his mother was died a long time ago. Their house was in ruins and only her bones were left. When Milarepa saw this, he was deeply shocked and heartbroken. He realized that all his sufferings and all his suffering were caused by the sins he committed before. This painful moment made him understand how short and uncertain life is. That realization became a turning point that led him to devote himself completely to spiritual practice. So, after receiving his teacher's blessings, Marpa decided to spend his life in meditation. He wanted to purify his mind and reach enlightenment. So he went deep into the mountains of Tibet, far away from people and comfort. Marpa lived alone in caves, surrounded by snow and silence. He had no warm clothes, no fire, very little food. Often he ate only wild nettles that grew near his cave, and because of that, his skin even turned green. Life was very hard for Milarepa. The winters were freezing, wild animals roamed nearby, and he had no one to talk to. But Milarepa did not give up. Instead of feeling lonely, he used that silence to go deep within himself. He spent days and nights in meditation, focusing his mind and observing his thoughts until he found complete peace inside. In that deep stillness, Milarepa realized the truth that his teacher Marpa had taught him, that the mind itself is pure and limitless. He became free from fear, desire, and attachment. From his cave, he sang beautiful songs of realization, expressing his joy and wisdom. One of his most famous songs goes something like this, friends. When you realize the nature of your mind, all things become your teacher. The mountain, the wind, the stars, all speak of truth. Beautiful, isn't it? So, Milarepa's time in the caves teaches us that true happiness does not come from the outside world. It comes from inner peace, patience, and self realization. By turning inward, he discovered the light of enlightenment that shines in every heart. Milarepa then became a great teacher, wandering on the streets, singing songs of realization, guiding disciples, living a life of simplicity and service. As word spread about him, disciples came far and near to learn from the yogi who wore only a thin cotton robe and sang songs of wisdom. He wrote more than millions of songs, and those songs were collected and published as a book titled 100,000 Songs of Milarepa. Milarepa did not teach from books or temples. He sang spontaneous songs filled with deep insight. Through these songs, he taught that the mind is pure from the beginning. We only need to recognize it. He also said that enlightenment is not found by running away from life, but by seeing the truth within every experience. Then Milarepa's life came to a peaceful ending. He became ill, but he accepted his sickness calmly, saying that it was part of his karma and the natural process of life. Even in pain, he continued to teach those who came to see him. His words were full of wisdom and kindness. Milarepa spent his last days surrounded by his close disciples, especially his beloved student Gambopa. He reminded them to keep practicing the teachings, to live a pure life, and to seek enlightenment through compassion and meditation. So, before passing away, he sat upright in meditation, his mind clear and peaceful. It is said that a sweet fragrance filled the air and a soft light appeared around his body, showing the signs of his deep spiritual realization. Milarepa did not fear death. For him, it was not an end, but a return to the true boundless nature of the mind. He left this world in silence and serenity, showing that a person who has conquered desire and ignorance can face death with complete peace. Even after his passing, his songs, his caves, and his example continue to inspire countless seekers to walk the path of truth and inner freedom. So, we have come to the conclusion takeaways from Milarepa's life. Now, let us pause and think, friends. What does the author Lobzang Jivaka want us to understand from Milarepa's life? He tells Milarepa's story not as a fairy tale, but as a mirror for our own lives. We may not practice magic or meditate in caves, but we all know what it means to suffer, to make mistakes, to feel regret, and to long for peace. So, through Milarepa's life, we learned that transformation and redemption are possible. His life whispers to us that no one is beyond redemption and that the human spirit, when guided by faith and wisdom, can rise above all karmic chains through sincere effort and dedication. Suffering can become the seed of wisdom. What breaks us can also open us. The importance of a guru. In the life of Milarepa, the presence of the teacher Marpa, the translator, is like a guiding flame in the darkness of Milarepa's past. Without Marpa, Milarepa's transformation would never have been possible. When Milarepa came to Marpa, he carried the heavy burden of his past. Yet Marpa did not simply forgive him, he purified him. Their bond reminds us that a true teacher is not one who gives comfort, but one who awakens truth, sometimes through love, sometimes through challenge, but always with compassion. Through Marpa's guidance, Milarepa found freedom, and through such guidance, we too can discover the light within ourselves. Milarepa's life beautifully teaches us the importance of renunciation. Milarepa gave up all worldly comforts and devoted himself completely to the spiritual path. He lived a simple life, meditating alone in caves and eating very little. His teacher, Marpa, tested him with many hardships, but Milarepa never gave up. If there is one quality that shines above all in the Milarepa's life, it is perseverance, friends. It is through this quality Milarepa attained enlightenment, the unwavering strength to continue, no matter how hard the path becomes. With strong faith and patience, he continued his practice until he reached enlightenment. His life shows that by giving up greed and facing difficulties with determination, we can find true peace and wisdom. Finally, compassion. Compassion is the flower of enlightenment. Milarepa's life shows that true compassion is born from understanding and forgiveness. When we let go of anger and fill our hearts with love for others, we move closer to enlightenment, just as Milarepa. So, Arthur's goal is not to make us worship Milarepa, but to remind us that within each of us lies the same potential to transform ignorance into wisdom, pain into compassion, and ordinary life into a path of awakening. So, this is this is all about the life of Milarepa, friends. So, my dear friends, when we feel trapped by our past or crushed by the weight of our own mistakes, let us remember Milarepa. He began as a victim, became a villain, and ended as a saint. His life teaches us that it is never too late to change, that within the darkest night, the dawn of wisdom is waiting. Let us carry that light within us, in our hearts, in our words, and in the way we treat others. My sincere thanks to Master Pradeep Ji and the BHF team and my fellow participants for giving me this beautiful opportunity. So, friends, if you have any questions,
Only one question I have is, do we have any, other than the songs, do we have any literature from him, or it is only this book where we can understand him, kind of?
yes, ma'am. Actually, this Tibet saint has lived in the 11th century.
Mm-hmm.
It was um, his biography was written by originally written by Heruka in the 15th century, and then later Lobzang Jivaka translated in a simple language for the Western readers.
Mm-hmm.
And apart from that, his songs were collected and published, and it is available in
Okay.
the title 100,000 Songs of Milarepa. So
Okay.
that is
Okay.
the information we have. Even the his birth timeline is also not accurate. So it was
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is really
uh,
inspiring story. I mean,
yes,
you have covered it so well. I know it must be good. I mean, big book, but this half an hour not enough. But you covered everything. I mean, it was really
yes,
great pleasure and great blessings. I'm really feeling blessed that we could
yes.
understand everything from this half an hour presentation. It's really great presentation. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Ma.